Hi, it's Barb. It's time for Barb's book reviews. It's 95 degrees out today. It's Friday afternoon. I am not leaving the air conditioning for the next 3 days because New England's having a heat wave. That said, I've got count them, four great books for you to take a look at this weekend. All right. Our first one coming up is, there we go. I do this, by the way. I put the book covers up so you don't have to see me read the script. So you know. Okay, first up is The Measure by Nikki Erlich. The story behind this is I was having coffee at Barnes & Noble one afternoon, and the book buyer, who's a friend of mine, came rushing up, and she cornered me and told me I had to buy this book, that she had just read it, that it was coming out the next day, and it was the best book she had read in a long time. So I caved. I bought the hardcover, and she was right. It is a fantastic book. It's my pick of the month. It's a dystopian fiction, which I don't normally read. So the fact that I read it in a weekend should tell you a lot about this book. One morning, every person on Earth over the age of 22 wakes up and they find a box on their doorstep. And in the box is a string. The string is either long or short, and it's a measure of what your life's going to be. You can't change the length of the string. What you've got is what you've got. And then it goes on to follow 8 people as they cope with the discovery and how it affects their relationships, their work, their life decisions, how they view themselves. It's a book about choices, and it's a book about how everything we do affects the larger picture. You know, at the beginning, you have these 8 separate stories, but by the end, you realize that despite the fact that these people are unrelated, they were connected like strings in a web. I don't want to say too much because it would spoil the book, but suffice to say, the strings have social and political ramifications as well. It wouldn't be a dystopian fiction otherwise, right? So hands down, like I said, book is the pick of the month. Next up, though, is another great book, The Librarian Spy. If you watched Off the Shelf last month, end of July, you heard us gushing about this for 40 minutes. It's Madeline Martin's first book since The Last Bookshop in London hit the New York Times. And I got to tell you, she has stepped up her game with this book. All I can say is, if you like World War II fiction, this hits every single button. You've got romance, you've got intrigue, you've got mystery, you've got high emotional stakes, strong female protagonists, great pacing, strong storytelling. You know what it reminded me of? You know those great movies, the war movies they did in the 50s and the 60s, like Guns of Navarone and Von Ryan's Express? That's the kind of feel I got from this. There are 2 storylines. One is in Lisbon and the other's in Lyon, France. I confess the French storyline I liked better only because it dealt with the resistance, and I find the French resistance, to be such an amazing event in history. But both heroines are very likable. They're both very strong. They're both very normal. They're normal people, which I think is part of the appeal. They're someone you can picture living next door to you, and yet they're wonderful World War II heroines. If you're a historical fiction buff, this is the perfect summer read. My third book, the book called Isaac's Storm. So there's another story attached to this one. My husband and I have a boat that we keep in a marina 4 hours from our house. And we were looking for something that we could listen on the radio and would make the ride go a little bit faster. We have vastly different reading tastes. So this is the title that we came up with as a compromise, a story of the 1900 Galveston flood. It is considered the worst natural disaster in American history, the hurricane and ensuing flood that took place. The Isaac in this is a man named Isaac Klein, who was the meteorologist based in Galveston, who completely underestimated both the storm and Galveston's ability to withstand it. Now, in fairness to Isaac, so did every other meteorologist in the United States. It's a story about arrogance run amok. It's a story about survival. It's a story about the fury of nature. Larson gives us the details from the days leading up to the storm. He goes right through the storm, and he tells us about afterwards, and you feel like you're really there. He also gives us a nice little history about meteorology, which made my husband very happy. You don't have to be a science or history buff, though, to like this. If you've ever read Erik Larson's books, you know his books are very accessible. They're very readable. They read a lot like fiction. The fact that my husband and I both give this 4 stars is a plus for it. We both loved it. It made the ride zip past, and I highly recommend it. And then we're on to The Showgirl. The Showgirl, I liked it. I didn't love it. So I'm giving it kind of the title of the meh book of the month. I've been going through a bit of a jazz age fixation. If you watched the last time I did the reviews, I had a bunch of 1920s books. This is a fluffy tale about a Ziegfeld girl, and at the very end of the 1920s. And she has a secret from her past that could jeopardize her career and her chance at love with this man that she's met. The reason I called it fluffy is because, well, it touches on a lot of what ambitious women in the 1920s faced as far as the prejudice and social condemnation. Nothing ever really seemed to go past the surface level. It lacked a little depth. And I mean, the 1920s were some of the most scandalous, exciting, dramatic times of our history. And I kept waiting to sit up and gasp at something, and I didn't. I wanted a twist, a scandal, something. I mean, these were the Ziegfeld girls. They were the creme de la creme of show business. And a lot of them died tragically. A lot of them were involved with gangsters. What little that drama that did happen, it would come up and be resolved fairly quickly. I give it maybe 2.5, 3 stars. It's a kind of book that is perfect if you're reading by the pool and you need to keep one eye on the kids swimming, or if you want to be able to pick it up and put it down and not feel bad because you want trying to get back to it. So, it's a good beach read. I wasn't great, but it was good. And so my last piece is an announcement. Next Tuesday, on August 9th, my friend Renee Ryan and I are throwing our off-the-shelf co-host Donna Allward a 50th birthday party. We're going to do it at our Facebook group called Step Into the Story. There's going to be trivia and prizes. Some of us may have cocktails. We hope you'll join us. It's at www.facebook.com/groups/stepintothestory. So there you have it. That is this month's Barb's book reviews. If you liked it, I hope that you will subscribe to it and watch again every month as I attempt to learn video and become more articulate. If you don't want to listen to this, you can read it at my blog. It's barbarawallace.com. There's also a written version that comes up every month. And don't forget to watch Off the Shelf, which comes up every month. We do it twice a month, and we do a deep dive into books that we think you're going to want to read. Our next deep dive is going to be August 16th. And we're going to be doing Sister, Mother, Warrior by Vanessa Riley. And I can already tell you right now, it's fabulous. You're going to want to read it. Why this woman is not sitting at the top of the New York Times list right now, I don't know. Because there are writers, and then there's Vanessa Riley. So you're going to want this book. And you're going to want to hear all the gushing that we do. So that's it. Have a great weekend. Stay cool if you're in the Northeast. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.